Okay, so we're calling this the workbench. Sometimes I call it the AI and video workbench. Here I'm calling it the multimedia workbench. Maybe you guys can help us figure out what to call this thing that we're doing. First of all, it's like really important. We've all been around. I see nobody's less than like 3 years old here. And so not a very long time ago, this was the state of the art in image generation. And now, of course, we live in a world where we can generate just like absurdly compelling images for any kind of purpose, obviously, including advertising and product packaging and amazing things like that. People are generating entire motion pictures, certainly short films and even long form motion pictures that have like crazy VFX, where, if you tried to do this in film, like only giant studios could do this with incredible budgets. Now you can do that from the comfort of your home, with a few words and some workflow. And so what an amazing world we're living in. And this is only getting better. And again, if you may have played around before with like a bunch of different systems, right, that are out there, model providers. They all have an interface where you can type in some words and like magic, you get images. That's amazing. But obviously this has limitations in like production grade image generation, where you want dramatically more control and you want consistency in being able to replicate images and not just have random, men with random dogs in this case that are doing it. And so while it's amazing that you can just go to any of these platforms and type some words and get an image, people who are serious about image and video generation don't do it that way, right? There's a website out there called Hugging Face, which is an aggregator of AI models that has a bunch of tools that people use. There's another one called Fal AI that has a bunch of tools that people use. And then there's something called Comfy. Show of hands for the people that are seeing. Has anybody heard of Comfy or used Comfy? Okay, I see just a couple of people. Okay. Well, so again, if you were in the business and you were generating a bunch of images and they mattered to you and you were trying to be professional about it, you would have stumbled across this thing called Comfy. It may have also like obliterated your mind of what it takes to be able to create an image. Forget typing in some words. You add these nodes to these storyboards, and then you connect the various different parameters of these nodes to the various other parameters of other nodes. And then you get to put, Ilya's face on Tom Cruise's face here, right? And that seems like a lot of work, but you get a lot of control with it. They get much crazier than that, and they get much crazier than this. Kind of the larger ones didn't make sense to put on the screen because there's like rat's nests of things. But this is very powerful. Like it's dramatically more powerful than just going to ChatGPT and typing in a prompt. And so MindStudio is kind of filling that void where that is between the, oh, I'm going to type something in a prompt to, oh, I need to spend the next year trying to figure out like what all these nodes do and how to connect them with one another. And so instead of this, you can have this. And this is much easier and much faster and same power. Okay. So what is it again? Like what is this thing, this workbench? Well, one is just like MindStudio itself, right? MindStudio is an orchestration platform. It allows you to create these multi-step workflows, and each step does something, and they can leverage AI, and they can connect to any other system. And because you can do that, wow, you can create all kinds of pipelines. Typically, they're called workflows or pipelines. In this case, this continues to be the case, which is with this workbench, you can create these multi-step pipelines, again, similar to what you could do in Comfy, which have many, many of these nodes together. Okay, at every step of this pipeline, you can evaluate how the step is working, and you can fine-tune it to work the way you want it to work. And then you can repeat that over and over and over again, either manually or automatically, right, like at scale. Again, because MindStudio is a model orchestrator and it's model agnostic, Just like for text models, where we give you over 100 different text models you can use. There's dozens and dozens of image models, video models, audio models that you have instant access to. You don't have to go and find these models and download them and install them on your computer or get like API keys from third party. You don't need to do any of that stuff. They're just there for you to use. You just choose it and use it. Each model has a price on it of how much it costs per image or per video or per second of video, right? And so you can choose based upon budgets. And then we simply meter you and bill you, right? And the metering and billing has zero markup. So it's the exact same price that you'd pay if you went and got API keys and did it, which do this as a convenience. So that's huge. You can utilize, again, because not only do you get the workbench and all of these new and image and video blocks that I'm about to show you, you also get access to all of the other things that are, all the other capabilities of MindStudio. So not only can you build these pipelines and fine tune them to generate images the way you want, you can then take that and make those pipelines go off and do many other things, or have a bunch of other things leverage these pipelines to do it. So you can build all kinds of crazy new capabilities because of this. You can run these things in Workbench mode, which is what I'm going to be showing you. And also you can take the things that you've built in Workbench and you can simply publish them and make them available just like regular MindStudio AI agents, either for yourself to use or for other people to use. So you can take these things if you wanted to. If you wanted to, you could put them behind a paywall. And now you've created this thing that people show up, you get them to upload some images and you do marvelous, amazing things with them. You give them back a bunch of awesome professional headshots and charge them for it. So all of that is now available inside of this. And yeah, so it's this like really powerful, multimedia workbench with all the power of MindStudio behind it. Okay. And so as I mentioned, we've got, 40 models here and new models are being added all the time. If we don't have a model that you're looking for, you heard about some model and you're like, man, I wish MindStudio had it. Click this little button. Okay. And then tell us what model you want. And chances are, later that day or in a couple of days, you'll get that model. Or it might even come in 15 minutes. Like adding these models is really straightforward. Okay, so we've got models for image generation, obviously, for video generation, including all of these, you guys may have, again, seen, the models from Google and ChatGPT, OpenAI and all of that. But then there's like all of these other models that are coming from, ByteDance and Kling and Lightricks and Black Forest Labs, which are even more powerful and more interesting and completely unlocked. And so you can generate all kinds of things. If you go to like OpenAI and try to get it to generate images of like politicians, for example, it says, I don't want any of that, right? And so it'll just fail. It won't do it for you. But these other models will do whatever you want them to do. And that's amazing. Okay, so you can create completely custom videos of anything you ever wanted. Okay. And then there are a bunch of new blocks, as we call them. Again, for those of you who've never seen MindStudio, you might not understand what this is, but soon, in a moment, as I do a demo, you will. These workflows, these pipelines are built of these blocks. There's 145 blocks in our main section. There's another 860, as we call them, connectors. And there's a bunch of new blocks here for dealing with images in videos, right? So like adding subtitles to videos automatically. Again, you don't manually do it. It does it automatically. Or extracting audio, or, taking a video and taking an image and making it multi-frame of, some length for a video. Or again, many other things here, face swapping in images and face swapping in videos and removing video backgrounds and upscaling and like all of these things that you're going to want once you start playing with this and say, oh, wow, I can really automate stuff. Well, now you can. Okay. By the way, a couple of things, a couple of warnings. Okay. One warning is make sure you sleep. Because once you start getting into this, like I've been having a hard time where I've been staying up like way too late every night because I'm like, oh, I've got another idea. I want to do this. So that's one. And two, again, you'll learn this as you start doing it. Image generation is relatively inexpensive depending on what models you use. But video generation is like an order of magnitude more expensive. Now, it's still inexpensive if you're doing it because you're making a little ad. Well, if you would have paid some designer to make that ad, that would have cost you many thousands of dollars. Here, you might be able to make it for $2. But if you're just like playing around all night long, $2, $2, $2, $2, that can add up. So make sure you put it on your, on your company account on that. But again, because of the way that these pipelines can be created, you can do most of your sort of prep work in images and text, and very rarely do you need to go out to video until you're ready to do it. So this is again one of the benefits of doing this node-based generation, is that you can do that. Okay, and then there's again many other blocks that again are available just as part of MindStudio itself. So all of these are available in Workbench. And so you get, like I said, all the power of MindStudio, but now in this interactive workbench. Okay, let's quickly take a look at, let's call them some basics, and do that. Let me just open up MindStudio here, and I'm going to say my workspace. And then I'm going to go here. I'm going to say new agent. Okay. So again, for those of you who've never seen MindStudio, this is the MindStudio agent builder. Agents are made of these blocks. Well, they're made of workflows, one or many, and each workflow is made of these blocks. You can have many blocks stitched together in a pipeline. When you click on the start block, there's something called a trigger. A new trigger that exists now. Again, there's like all of these other triggers on demand, scheduled, browser extension, email, webhook, API, etc., Telegram message, etc. There's a new trigger called Workbench. Okay. And so if you click that, you are now in this Workbench mode. You may have noticed now you have this run button here that you didn't have before, right? And so you can now be in the editor and run things in the editor. For those of you that are OGs of MindStudio, this is sort of like a derivative of run and draft mode, but it's better, okay, especially for these like image and video generation multi-step pipelines. And then again, we can click plus and we can add, many different types of blocks here. And then if we just click plus, this first set we get are kind of the most commonly used blocks that are available for you. One of those blocks is, again, a relatively new block called set variable. And set variable allows me to, again, create a variable here in the system. And that variable can be of multiple types. It could just be text. It could be image, video, or a file. In this case, I'm going to choose image. And so we can create an image variable. And I'm going to call this, first image. And then I'm going to click here and I'm going to go to downloads, and I just got an image of Sam Altman here. Okay. And so now I have in my pipeline one variable called first image, and the value of that variable is Sam Altman. I can then click plus, and I could set another variable, for example, and I'll call this, second variable. Oh, sorry, second image. It's going to be a long day. I can feel it already. And I'm going to say image, and I can click here, and I can put in Dario. Okay. Everybody know who this is? Everybody know who Sam Altman is? Yeah, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, and Dario is a CEO of Anthropic. It's a big battle going on. Okay, and so now again, we've got these two images, and now, for example, we could take this and we could add a generate image block. Okay, and again, here we can choose, what image models we're using from these various providers, and they all kind of do different things. You'll see some labels here about them of like, what do they do? You can see how much they cost, so this is trivial, 1/10 of a cent per image. Some are 5 cents an image, some are more expensive. This one's 13 cents an image. I'll stick with this one, which is 4 cents an image. And then we get this configuration for generating this image. A key part of image generation, I'm going to assume that everybody generally understands that image generation is a function of a prompt, of kind of picking various parameters that are available from these models, like source images, for example, or something called LoRa that we're going to go into in a little bit. So there's different models have different parameters that you can configure. So you give it a prompt, you configure parameters, um, and then yeah, and then again, and you can give them like additional images here. Now, the prompt, of course, is everything in generation. But here, what I'm going to do is this model supports source images. So I'm going to click Add. And here, I could simply type my first image and provide that to the model. I can add another one, and I could give it the second image. And now I can say, uh, you know, um, these two men standing in a ballroom in tuxedos. And then I can take this and I can, by the way, it's a shitty prompt. You can write better prompts. You can use MindStudio to write better prompts. We have prompt enhancer blocks in here. But we can run this. And as you can see, we can, when Workbench runs, it runs in this window. You can break this window out full screen and watch it. And so again, we created the first variable, we created the second variable. Now it's running the model, and then we get these things that are here. Now this doesn't really look like Sam. Oh, one more thing I want to show you here. Um, so one of the parameters that are available in MindStudio Workbench mode is this multiple variance. By default, it's disabled, but you can enable it. And then you can specify up to 10 variants that you get whenever this workflow runs. And so in this case, I didn't get one image, I got 4 images. Now I can look through these images and find the one I want. And then if I select this image, then that sets a new variable here. Sorry, one more thing to show you. The default behavior of this block is to display to user, but we can also, again, just like in all MindStudio blocks, change this to save to variable, right? And then I can call this, let me call this first frame. And now I've taken whatever output is coming out of this, and I'm going to save it to this variable first frame. And so if I choose one of these images and say select variant, that is now going to become the variable first frame. And then we can move on, for example, and maybe generate a video. And to that video, again, a lot of these models allow a first frame and last frame. And so I can pipe through this workflow things that generate things and provide a new prompt to this one to generate videos. Okay. And so this is the basic approach of using this workbench mode is to, on the start block, choose workbench, use these set variable blocks to be able to create variables. Obviously, these things also support URLs. And so in the source image, for example, you don't have to do that. You can give it a URL and it'll accept that as well. In fact, the value in this case, the first image is a URL. And so there's a bunch of ways. Again, I don't want to exhaustively take you through this because that's not the point of today's session. We'll do more kind of really deep dives on this. I just want to keep it at a high level and teach you guys how to use this, and then you can play with it. Now I want to show you some of the things I built, whatever, last night, just playing around, just so that I had something to show you here. So this is a thing I built. Forget the name. I called it Image Generator. It's basically the same thing I'm showing you here. There's Ilya, there's Sam. I've got a thing here. They're standing next to each other on stage, wearing a light blue tuxedo. And obviously, again, if you've never seen MindStudio, you don't know about this, but those of you who have, there's this really powerful debugger mode. And all of these runs are available in that debugger. And so we can see each of these images that are being generated, looks kind of like Dumb and Dumber. That wasn't exactly intentional. And so you get, again, these things in that. So like really easy to create this and then, of course, run it. And obviously, you could also be programmatically generating all of these images, right? And so you can create fiction where you're creating characters using models without uploading any images. You just describe your character and creates the characters, and then it can take those characters and create storyboards, and can take those storyboards and turn them into videos, and you can take those video clips and concatenate them all together. Because like these are all blocks now in MindStudio. It's like you can build if you wanted to. It probably cost you whatever, $100 maybe. Or like you could make a feature film like that just gets made automatically and gets put together, and AI doing its creative thing, right? And so if any of you start doing that, let me know. I wanna take a look at your featured film. So it's like a really simple thing that again takes a minute to create, and then you get the power of doing this. This one, in fact, also uses something. Let's take a look at this. So one of the parameters that's available in some of these models is something called the LoRa, L-O-R-A. There it is, LoRa. If you do a search for LoRa, you can see right now there's 4 models. Soon there'll be many more that support LoRa. These are really powerful models. And a LoRa, think of it as sort of a, I think the best way to describe it, sort of like a filter that you've seen on like other services, but it's much more powerful than that. It's a way to tell the model to do something unique and specific. And you can create these LoRa's and train them. For example, you can train a LoRa on your face from different angles. And then when you say, generate an image of Dimitri standing, on a mountaintop celebrating, a summit, well, that thing generates an amazing image because it knows my face. And so these LoRa's are really powerful, but they're kind of really clunky and hard to use. And so if you ever tried using it in something like Comfy UI or any other service, you'll be like, what is this thing? How do you use it? We made it dumb easy. And so there's a website out there called Civit AI. Anybody heard of Civit AI? Seen it? Show of hands. I see a couple. Okay, well, that's awesome. But again, most of you haven't. And Civit AI is again a thing. You got to be careful. There are some things here that are not safe for work, so I'm not going to scroll through it and jeopardize you. You can actually control these filters that seem to partially work of like, do you want to display it or not? And so you can, if you want to use one of these LoRa's, you simply go to filters, you choose LoRa, and then you choose the model that you're using. In this case, we're using this Flux 1D, and you'll get a bunch of these LoRa's. And then you see some like even say not safe for work. And then if you want to use one of these, all you got to do is copy this link. Literally just take this link here. Because before, again, if you're using any other system, you got to like look at these things right here. There's like all of these like sub-variants of it, and some work on this way, some work in another way. Like all of that's a big disaster. Most of the time it's just failure and just like wasting money. Here, you literally just grab this, you take it, you paste it in here. You say, add LoRa. You paste it in here. It says, yep, that thing works. It gives you all the parameters, and it's just here. Or again, you can get rid of it, and you get a more natural image of Sam and Ilya in this case. And so these LoRa's are really, really powerful. I'll show you another example where I'm using one of them. Let's take a look at this thing that I built. I'm calling it the Selfie to Professional Headshot Generator. What is it? It's a screenshot of me, talking to one of these classes. And then that's called Selfie. And then there's a prompt that says, create a 2x2 grid of Creative Studio portrait of this person. I didn't write this prompt. I asked, a model to write this prompt. And it just gives me some additional words, photorealistic and high-end commercial and things like that. And I give it this selfie as a source image. I create 2 variants. And again, when we run this thing, what we get back are, headshots. In this case, I said like the Wall Street Journal. And so you get these kinds of things, or you get these things. I mean, I think this guy's better looking than I am, and so I'll take it. This guy looks like a dweeb. Yeah, looks like Mike Johnson. So anyway, like again, really easy way to do this. And again, these things cost basically nothing, 8 cents for all these images. We're using Nano Banana, right? So like really, really powerful ways to do that. Okay. There's another thing I want to show you, which I've built and I use. It's really cool. This one is actually packaged as See, Dwayne has a question. Dwayne, you're muted. Sorry, Dwayne, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Sorry for interrupting, but just a moment ago, you were describing how you could use a LoRa. I guess you pulled a key or ID from another app. So I have done that in the past. I've used other apps to create these IDs, but I missed how you inserted that into the MindStudio block in that
Yeah, no
LoRa
worries.
section.
You, let's see if, sorry, too many tabs. I closed that other one. Let me just do it here. If I say plus and say generate image, and we choose a model that supports a LoRa, like this one, see LoRa,
Mhm.
and I say use model, right here is a section called LoRa.
Okay.
LoRa's. You can say add. You can add up to 3 LoRa's, and you can say paste the Civit link or direct, dot softeners, soft tensors URL. And so you just
Okay.
say add, and you just
I
paste
got it.
that link from the LoRa, and that's it. And it automatically chooses the right version and gives you all the parameters. It automatically gives you some of these things have trigger words that you need to put into
Yes.
your prompt. It automatically gives those. So you can just click this little pill. It'll copy it. Again, it's like saves you massive amounts of time and hassle.
Yeah.
Jessica?
So if you add three different Lauras in one swoop, is it combining the three styles of those Lauras, or is it taking like what's the process for determining how it's going to use the Lauras to
Yeah,
generate the image?
well, there's yeah, it becomes kind of this combination.
Okay.
Each LoRa has a slider for its strength in it, and it becomes a game of, what are the sliders like to get the images that you want? How much of this, how much of that?
Okay.
Hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Love?
So, oh, sorry.
Well, you're muted now. Love.
Um, if you wanted to build out a longer video asset and you know you have to go in and try to edit it out and using Adobe, would you be able to string this together and then load this into Adobe to do the
Absolutely.
editing?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to show you some video stuff here in a moment.
Okay. Thank you.
But first, I want to show you again. I just think this is cool. I've been using it for a while. This is even before we had this workbench mode. And so this is a MindStudio agent that is a browser extension agent. And so I have it here. It's called the Drawn Thumbnail Generator. Again, if you've never seen the MindStudio browser extension, it's a free extension you can download from the Chrome store, install it, and you instantly get access to like all of these agents that you can run on any page on the internet, including YouTube videos. And in this case, if I click this, it's going to grab the transcript of this video here, and it's going to go and turn it into 4 images that are basically what is happening in this video in the form of these 4 images. And you can like look through them, you can copy them, you can download them, and that's the output of just clicking this button. Click the button on any YouTube video and you get this summary. By the way, you can take that and turn it into whatever else you want, but this is it. And again, it's like really easy to make this. It's just a browser extension. Um, it creates the prompts. It says the user wants to communicate the essence of this transcript visually via YouTube thumbnail image. How could it be communicated? And so it creates that. It then runs the sub workflow for each one of these things to generate these images. Here it's using Gemini 3 Pro image, really easy. And then puts them all together and creates this interactive asset. Again, if you've never seen MindStudio, you won't know this, but those of you who've been to our boot camps, for example, will know about the generate asset block, which basically allows you to vibe code any interface. In this case, I vibe coded this interface, which is this interactive thing that lets me see all these images, copy them, download them, do, etc. And so all of this is doable really easily with MindStudio. Okay, let's see. So yeah, here's the thing that this thing generated for us. Okay, so like really cool. Okay, let's see what else here I want to show you quickly. Okay, so first this. So let's take a look at this video. And so again, this video was generated using Workbench. I'll show you the Workbench that did this but let's quickly watch it. I don't know if you'll be able to hear the sound, but it's like sounds of motorcycle racing through the streets, people yelling at them, doing this. And so all of this, these are actually two videos that were generated and then, spliced together, all by one agent. And so let's go find that agent. Multiple videos stitched together. We can open this workbench. And here's what I've got. Again, so let's quickly take a look at how I did this. And again, I'm just trying to show you guys a bunch of different patterns. I'm playing around with this. I'm not a serious video creator. There are people in whose hands this is going to be insane, and I can't wait. Maybe you guys are those people. I can't wait for you to go and geek out on this and really do meaningful things. I'm just showing you random capabilities by my random demo. So I've got 3 set variable blocks here. One variable is called style. And in style, it's a text variable. For now, I have it called hand-drawn. You'll see in my debugger, the last one I ran was hand-drawn. I have another style called subject, in this case, black motorcycle chase through Tokyo streets, wide shot transitioning to medium close-up. Then a set variable called action, and this is the action for the video thing. Then in the generate image block, I provided the style. Again, if this confuses you, don't worry about it. Come to one of our free workshops or watch one of our tutorials to understand what this is. This isn't code. This is just a way of creating structure for the model to understand what this is. So this thing gives it the style that's written here, whatever's the variable here, it gets put into this generate image block, and then it provides the subject, and it says, I want the subject in this style. And the output of this, and by the way, the model I'm using is called WAN 2.5. It's awesome. The output I'm turning into something called first frame. And so again, we're about to run it and you'll see how this thing works. Then we're going to take that first frame and we're going to put it as the configuration into this generate video block using the ByteDance CDance model. And then we're going to give it the action, okay? And we're going to take the output of that and we're going to save it to a variable called first video. We get to choose direction. We get to choose whether we do audio or video. Is the camera fixed or is the camera able to move? Seed is by default random. But if you found something that you really like, you can make the seed manual and then you can truly control it so it's not changing every time you run it. So if you specify the seed, it will be consistent. If you want more creativity, you can do random. Okay, so anyway, so far we've set these variables. We're generating an image, which is going to be the first frame. Then we're going to take that first frame, we're going to pass it into a video model as the first frame and give it the action, which is like in this case, a black motorcycle races through Tokyo streets, right? Police chasing. Then we're going to take that output of this, which is this first video, and we're going to use the get image from video frame block to get the last frame of this video. And then we're going to take that last frame and we're going to pass it into another generate video block as the start frame. And that's going to then save it to a second video. And then we're going to use a block called merge videos, where we give it the first video and the second video, and we merge them together. I didn't choose any transitions here. And then we end. Okay. And so again, if we take this thing and first let's quickly take a look at the debugger. Okay, so this is the last one I ran, and let's look at the flow. The first thing it did is it generated 4 variants for me and displayed it for me of this. You remember I said drawn style. And so this is the drawn style. That was one variable, one variant. Here's another one and the fourth one. And I chose it and then it proceeded, kind of like that thing I showed you before. Again, we're about to run it and see it again. And then it created the first video here. And so, again, I don't know if you probably can't hear the sound, but this is the first video. And there's that last frame. And then again, that next block took that last frame and then passed that into the second video generation. And then we got the second video that starts on that last frame and continues And then we went and put them together, merged the videos, and we finally got this one video that is, and notice it's drawn, and in the second one, I didn't change it. I mean, I changed it so it's not drawn. And so now you get photorealistic of this, and it all like merges together really nicely. And again, if you want to make a video about something else, now that you've created the pipeline, well, simply change the style if you want, the subject, the action, and now you've got yourself a video generator. It can generate videos of any length. Now, this is again a very sort of amateur way of doing it. I just wanted to put it like this, all in one flow, in one workflow. A more sophisticated way, although really easy to do, like those people who have been to the boot camp will see this, is you can easily take this and put it into a sub workflow and then loop through that sub workflow, and you can generate countless images. So it doesn't have to be two. You don't have to create each one of these. You can just have them cycling through, creating the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. Okay, and so yeah, let's maybe again just run this quickly just so we can see kind of that first generation that's here. I'm just going to make this full screen. And so the first thing it's going to give us is it's going to give us those variants that we want to choose as our first frame for the image. Okay, and so again, we can look at these. We can even use our arrow keys to choose if we like any of these. And if we, by the way, if we don't, we can stop here. And so far that's cost us, 12 cents. So we don't have to continue to go and do the videos from it. We can simply run it again. And we're going to get, another set of these four. And maybe we find one that we like, and then we're going to take that, and with that, we're going to proceed, and then we're going to go through that video stuff, right? Okay. And so again, if I say select variant, well, this thing is now going to kick off the rest of that process, and it's going to go make that first video count. You get the point of it. Okay, cool. Okay, let's see. Are there questions that I should, actually one more thing before we take questions, and I'll take a bunch of questions. Okay, I want to show you this other thing I made. Again, this is simply, I made it in Workbench, and then I turned it into a published application, a published agent. And let me show you what this agent does. It presents us a form. It's called Video Generator. It says, who or what is the subject of the scene? What's happening in the scene? It gives you these various types of shot types that you can choose from, angles, camera movement, composition, the lens that you're using, the camera that you're using. These are like high-end cinema cameras, right? The time of day that this is happening, the color grade, and then and then if you want, you can add a reference image, and so change that, and you can choose the atmosphere, and you say next. And it's basically that thing that I showed you before, except you don't have to go and manipulate any of these things. It's just a form. You fill it out, and now you're generating a new video, and a new video, and a new video. Okay, and so again, this is like really easy to make. This took me, again, 20 minutes to make. Really, really easy. Okay, so I'm going to stop here, and I know we're getting close to the hour anyway, and so, yeah, let's take some questions. Actually, before we take Mark's question, show of thumbs. Does this make sense, or is this like, oh my God, I don't know what this guy's talking about? This is like really weird. Okay, I see double thumbs. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, that's exciting. Again, I can't wait for you guys to play with this stuff. Just like, be careful, because it'll take up your whole weekend, and my wife's going to kill me probably, because I'm not going to be able to stay away from it. But I can't wait to see it. Please post it in Slack. Please post it on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever. Like, let's show the world our creativity and what you can do with this. That would be amazing. Okay, Mark.
Yeah, I'm surprised your wife hasn't killed you already, but
me too.
I was just curious as to, like, all the models seem to have like an 8-second runtime. Is there any particular reason for that?
Yes. First of all, this is a common runtime, sort of 5 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds are all things that are available in different models. But yeah, all of these models generate clips. They don't generate long videos. Like in fact, in general, when you're making, videos, It's best practice is not to have anything sort of last too long. On YouTube, the guidance is every 3 to 5 seconds. You want to be showing a different angle, a different scene. Otherwise, people get bored. And so this is just common for any kind of filmmaking or video making, is that what you're really looking for are short clips. As these models get more powerful, better, I'm certain there's going to be things that extend the time and you might be able to get a whatever 30-minute clip. I'm not sure that's actually valuable to people, but yeah, generally you'll find again, the largest one I've seen is 15 seconds that you can get. Most of them are like 5, 8, 10 seconds. Oscar?
Yes, I have seen the images and you use URLs, okay? You use links to it. Where are physically those images and those URLs, for how long are active? I mean, can we download that image tomorrow, for example, or they will not be active anymore? They will be deleted.
No, when you use a set variable block, those images get stored, in our cloud, in a bucket in our cloud, and are available. They don't expire. Okay, and so you can delete them, but they don't expire. So they will be available next time you come and next time you come and afterwards. And of course, if you're referencing URLs on the web somewhere, again, you could kind of like find an image, right click it, say copy link to image, and you just paste that in. You don't have to use the set variable block. Those obviously are at the mercy of somebody that owns that website, could take them down and your thing's not going to work anymore. So if it's important for you to have it, set it as a block and then, or as a variable, and then you get persistence. Hey, Jessica.
Hey, Dimitri. So this might be kind of an amateur question based on all the cool stuff you just showed, but
That's perfect. Listen, I want to keep this amateur. If anybody was thinking that I was pretending that this was an advanced class, I apologize. This is the amateur class.
no, this is really cool. I've been working on an agent where I'm trying to do like a interior design kind of thing where you upload source images of a room and then it redesigns based on a style, right? And I've been playing with the prompting. I've added negative prompting to say, don't move or add windows or doors. Everything else in my prompt works every time and it looks great, but no fail, every time there is an extra window or the window moved from one wall to the other.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips or tricks to fix that?
I do, yes. This is, again, a best practice, has nothing to do with MindStudio, but on that image, if you kind of draw areas like little blocks, red, blue, green, whatever, to point where things are, and tell the model, this is where I want the couch, and this is where I want that, and this, then it will be precise in putting those things where you want them. So just like annotate in your source image where things are supposed to go, and that should solve your problem.
Awesome. I'll give that a try. Second, really quick question. Are you able to share the remix link to that motorcycle video? Because that was really awesome, and I'd love to play around with that.
Totally. I will, in Slack, I'll share links to all of these things that I put here, and yeah, get them to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Vinay?
Hi, Dimitri. Yeah, I have two questions. One is about in the advanced settings when you enabled the multivariance, right? So my question is like when we use like 4 versus 10 variants, will there be any difference in the cost like when it's running through the?
Absolutely. Yeah, the more variants you use, the more you pay for. You pay for each variant.
Okay. The other question I have is like, can we store these images somewhere in our data source, like in our project itself, and try to use them rather than giving from, like website and stuff?
Absolutely. Those images that are generated, you can then take a block and put them anywhere you want. You can store them in whatever, Google Docs or Airtable, or put them on your website, or save them to your computer, or whatever you want to do. They're just artifacts that are available. They're in the cloud. They've got a URL. And then again, we've got blocks that allow you to take those and put them into, any place you want, or you can post them to LinkedIn, for example, automatically, or any of that kind of stuff.
Okay, so basically when we store in the data source, we can use all those images, whatever we want to, right?
Totally.
Okay, and so when we're using it, is it like the same as a variable? Like we need to name it as a variable, or like how do we use specific images from the data source?
Yeah, again, if you are storing them, you would store them either as a variable. You could store them as a global variable if you want to reuse them on next runs.
Yes.
You can again, if they're stored in the set variable, you can use that. You can store them in any document, and whatever work document or a Google Sheet. And then whenever you want to use them, yeah, you just reference them via either the direct URL or load them into a variable and do that.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Doug? You're muted, Doug. Still muted.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if this is the right time to ask this question. If not, I'm sure you'll tell me. But when will we be ready to give some thought about protecting all these wonderful things that we make? So, like from a copyright or an informational right for the things that we produce, they're not protected. They're part of the public
Yeah,
domain at this point, right?
Yeah, this is the wrong place, I think, to ask the question. But if any of you guys want to dive into this again, happy to discuss this in Slack, and we can talk about it. There's like some philosophical things, and then there's some practical things. But like
Thank you, Dimitri.
you're in control. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Jennifer.
Hi, another silly question, but could you show us in the video settings where we can specify the output run length to your point of like having the videos be a certain length?
Yes.
I assume that that's a setting and I should know it, but I don't.
It is, yeah, you'll just see it in blocks that are generate video blocks.
Yeah,
Typically, there's this duration
perfect.
and resolution and things
Yeah.
like that that are available. Different models have different parameters that are exposed, and so just play around with them and it'll. Yeah, I think you'll discover all of these things. Dominic?
Hi, Dimitri. Thank you. I have two questions actually. So, first of all, the workbench mode, where do I open that? Because I cannot find it if I want to draft a new agent. It doesn't open, I guess.
When you create a new agent, you click on the start block, and in this trigger section on the right, you choose workbench.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
second question, this LoRa thing, why is it again special, or what is the special thing about it?
LoRa is it's a technology in a sense in AI that allows models to be nuanced in specific ways to be able to do some custom things better. In this case, LoRa's are used to for image generation, for example, to create, again, if you go to this like Civet AI website and just scroll through the different images and videos they have, you will start to understand that there could be countless different styles and countless different dimensions of image generation and video generation. And LoRa's allow you to train this model, sort of additive to the model, to make it do something special that the model itself isn't necessarily good at doing, but model plus LoRa is very good at doing this thing. And so again, if you just like Google it or watch some videos about it, it'll make a bit more sense. The topic itself is technical, but you don't need to be technical to use it. That's why we've made it dumb easy. Civet AI is the place to find these LoRa's. There are other places, but this is the dominant place. You just find the LoRa, paste it in that box. It'll tell you if it's not going to work. You can find a different one. It'll also, if it does work, it will automatically choose the right variant, expose for you this trigger word, as it's called, or trigger word sometimes, or sometimes no words, and then whatever other parameters it has. And so again, we've tried to make it just dumb easy. You don't even need to know what LoRa stands for. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Deb?
Yeah, so I would not put an image that I wanted to like generate on. I would not put that in data source in an agent, correct?
I'm sorry.
So let's say I'm creating an agent and I have data sources in that agent. I would not put the image that I want to copy in data source, would I?
No, not data sources. We have
Okay.
something called data sources, which is vectorization of large amounts of data. If
That's what I wanted to know.
No,
Okay.
you don't do that. You use a set variable, or you use a URL to it, or you
Awesome.
upload
Thank you.
it, or Rich?
Hey, Dimitri, thanks. Is there an upper limit to the start frame, end frame, 5/8 seconds, part 2, part 3, part 4 before the workflow breaks? Like, can you get to a 2-minute or 3-minute little mini video if you're trying to do an explainer and not have the workflow break?
Yeah, I mean, again, the workflow is not going to break. It just continues to execute on step. You might rack up a bill, but yeah, you can absolutely do it. You could run this thing for hours and it'll generate hours of video for you, especially if you're looping through it using the run workflow block. And so you can just give it a giant array of things and it can make it for you.
Thank you.
And again, along with these other capabilities of MindStudio, you can start to think of like, oh, I'm reading an article. I can just push a button, and now all of a sudden this thing is going to make a video about, like, it's going to understand the article, it's going to extract all the salient points of it, and it's going to create, a video that talks about all of that in video form. So like you can generate videos from documents or from images, from videos or anything else. Countless use cases. All right, folks. Well, we're at time here. So yeah, valuable. This cool. An hour well spent. Okay, awesome. So look, again, really excited to see what you guys do with it. I'm glad it's the weekend. And so you guys can go play with it. Yeah, I'm also around. So if you all of a sudden say, yeah, I want to ask Dimitri a question, just find me on LinkedIn or Slack, even better, and message me. All right, folks. Thanks for coming. Be well. Great to have you here. Take care.